That we're coming with.
Yeah. So yeah, notifications about what? So any change on the schedule, schedule change, book cancel, anything should be notified via email.
Email, SMS, whatever.
So email, SMS, multi-channel. So let's call it multi-channel support. All right. Can anyone think of more functional requirements
Mm,
for a
Risk.
for a 60-minute interview? This should be more than enough.
yeah, I mean, we
Risk.
have to think of. Yeah, go ahead, please, Srinivas.
Rescheduling is required.
Rescheduling can be modeled in the backend as automated cancellation and rebooking.
Okay.
So, but yes, that's a good call out. So rescheduling, yeah. Yeah. Also remember, whatever you mention here, you should be able to defend it with your coding and then the objects and entities that you define. So keep it
Uh,
simple. Like don't complicate it unless the interviewer wants you to add more features. You could definitely complicate your design, but don't do it because you have limited time. Cool. So then non-functional requirements. I think I was thinking to have the consistency as non-functional. We can still have it as non-functional. So what
don't.
else?
One thing like, do are we interested in like basically fastest route,
Fastest
uh,
route. Okay,
or yeah,
got
like
it.
nearest route,
Yeah. So
something.
on the search aspect, imagine like we won't be implementing all of this, like the payment notifications. We won't be implement. We can't implement all of this in 60 minutes. So definitely the shortest path or the minimum hops and all is a good requirement, but we should not too complicate ourselves, like go into the depth of implementing in the search. When I'm returning the results, return with criteria as minimum hops, minimum duration, and things like that. So that's
That will
so
make it
when
complex.
you're yeah, so unnecessary complication should be avoided. Those are necessary features, but they can always be banked on. So what interviewers usually do is in the end of the interview, they would want, so they'll usually come up with milestones. So what all milestones, achieving what all milestones would make this candidate meet the bar or whatever, and achieving what all milestones make him raise the bar. So if he wants to ensure you are raising the bar or you are a strong, very strong candidate, he will verbally ask you, if I want to extend this piece of code to some other functionality, what all would change, and is that adhering to single responsibility principle? So that is when they will check it. Otherwise, you should not add too many complications and make it not solvable within the time. Okay.
Even item potency should be like double. He shouldn't be
Yeah,
charged.
definitely. So idempotency would mean on what aspect? So for example, if it's booked once, it should not be like any booking or any notification or any invoice generation should be done only once.
Even if it is done twice, also the result should not change. I mean, he shouldn't be doubly charged at any cost, right?
Got it. Booking twice should not
Lead.
double charge the customer.
Correct.
Cool. Anything else? That's a good call out.
Yeah, scaling and all those things will come into HLD, so we don't need to worry
Yeah,
about.
so when we do LLD, imagine everything fits into your memory and we go on solving it, right? So the next thing we do is, so we come up with functional, non-functional, then we talk about actors. So actors are who tell you like where should you proceed next. So let's say we define actors. In the actor section, we think who are our customers. So any signed up user who is trying to, any signed up passenger, let's call it signed up customer. So we want to avoid all the authentication authorization aspects into it. So signed up customer is one. In the front desk, for example, you'll have a booth or something where users could come to you and say, I want this to this flight, and you'll take payments from them and you will book physically, like on the site. So let's say a front desk officer who can reserve or cancel tickets, which means he also has access to portals with more privileges than you. Um, so obviously you would have an admin who assigns flights to flights, who assigns flights to crews and pilots, and puts up the schedule of the flight, and things like that. You would obviously have the pilot or crew, who will be like associated with the flight. So this helps us talk about associations, one to n to one, things like that. And yeah, this is mostly it. And yeah, can anyone think of more actors in the system?
Tickets.
Tickets. Okay, so tickets. Ticket is an entity. So
Entity.
actors should be like physical
Touchable,
actors
living.
doing work. So ticket is the entity on which the actors act on. So definitely we should have entities. Let's talk about the entities now. So what all we think are the entities? So because we are designing an airline management system, an airline is definitely an entity, right? So what is composed of, we'll talk about later. We are talking about source and destination. So source and destination, so every time we think about like duplication, we should think of an abstraction that covers these things. So source and destinations are instances of what? So these are airports, right? You'd be going from an source airport to destination airport, or you could call these cities, right? In this sense, airport is a better entity. So if you want to make source and destination separate entities, then source extends airport is a better abstraction, right? So you think about airport. What
What's
else do we have? So we
passenger?
have yeah, we
Sectors,
have yeah, go on.
sectors, I guess, right?
Sector.
Sectors. Yeah.
What is a sector?
Sector actually defines one route, right? Like from source to destination.
Okay. Source to destination. One. You mean route? Something like a route?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, cool. Sure. So you could also have a route. Um,
You can
Definitely.
have
Flight,
seats.
flight.
Yeah, you should definitely have flight, because airline is Air Asia, Air India, Indigo, whatnot.
So
So
that
a flight is what defines this is our
specific.
main entity. So what is the departure airport? What is the source airport? And a flight is not an aircraft, by the way. We also need to have an aircraft, no? Aircraft that says this aircraft is this model, and Boeing has these many entities, and currently this aircraft is at this location, and stuff like that. So you would assign a specific aircraft of specific size to between a location, correct?
So what's
So
the
you
difference
also
between flight and aircraft? Both are same only. I mean, until
no.
and
So imagine flight to be something like so aircraft. Imagine it's like Boeing's 777 or Airbus something. Okay,
Mhm.
and a flight is like a fixed route between one source to one destination, that is supposed to start at a particular time, that is supposed to drop at a particular time, and it uses an aircraft to do that travel. Does it make sense? So
Okay.
aircraft as such is the physical format of that device, which is carrying you, the vehicle.
Same as program versus process, right?
Sort of.
Probably.
Sort of, no?
Yeah. So imagine aircraft is like the class and flight is like the instance of the class. But again, we'll also have an instance of the flight again, which I'll like. Yeah, let's think of difference between flight and flight instance also. So
Flight distance is defined by start and end time, right?
exactly. So a flight is like it defines a core entity, but this is like the runtime instance of that entity. So, for example, imagine flight as like it contains one flight, but one flight can have multiple occurrences. For example, it could so yesterday's a flight could start yesterday, a flight could start today as well. How do you distinguish both? So in your database terminology or whatever, you'll assign flight as like a core model which defines the entity, and flight instance is like an instance that started at a particular moment, that is going to end at a particular moment. So yeah, and flight instance can have like let's say I have a flight that runs twice weekly, then per week there will be two instances of this flight. Does it make sense?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Cool. Then you will have
Seat,
Ticket
sorry?
seats.
Hmm?
seats, yeah.
Seats.
Seats.
Airplanes are
Seats.
seats.
Yeah, you should definitely have seats. Yeah. So route. if route can also be termed as itinerary. Would you agree?
Hopping part, yeah.
So an itinerary can be composed of multiple subroutes if you have multiple hops, right? So, and we also support the reservation, right? So if we go up, we support reservation, invoices, etc., etc. So let's talk about those aspects as well.
Oh,
So yeah,
booking manager.
booking manager, yes, booking manager will definitely be the class that is going to implement it. But when we talk about entities, we talk about the nouns, like the core entities. So for
Okay, okay.
example, what are your domain models? And domain models are implemented by your booking managers, your factories. They are created by your factories. They are run by your, they are associated with your managers and things like that. So at this point we should be thinking like who all are the what all are the entities that are present in this system. So like your basic models, and on top of the models you will provide implementations. Does it make
Okay.
sense?
Yeah, yeah, makes sense.
Cool. So a payment is also an entity. And
Notification.
yeah, we said our last functional requirement that we should also be sending invoices and notifications. So invoice is an entity, notification is an entity. Are there
Customer.
any more?
Mm.
Customer, yeah, so definitely user is an entity.
User, because
um,
user
yeah,
has to be a expert class. He can be a pilot or he can be a customer, right?
yeah, so user, so let's say person, and this person can be extended to anything. Like crew can be a person, pilot can be a
Pilot,
person, customer
customer.
can be a person, or anything like that. Cool.
Yes, yeah.
All right.
The
So far, okay. We also forgot one thing. So we told, okay. I think we can go into that as we like define these entities. But when we define these entities, we need to know that when we talked about flight, we mentioned that each flight will have a schedule or this associated with it, right? Like the start time, end time, and stuff. So this is the point in time where we start to draw the associations between the entities. So fifth point is we define the entities. Now we talk about associations, like who depends on what and how are they related. So I happen to download this good library, Excalibur library, which helps us draw these associations well. So I'll share the link offline. So at this point we talk about like um, classes. So first, let's think of any interfaces or anything like that. So which all these can be interfaces?
interface regarding payment, I would say we can use
Hmm.
strategy because payment will
Hmm.
be done via credit card, debit card, UPI, right?
Hmm.
So
Okay.
you can make an interface, void make payment.
Notification can also be a strategy pattern depending on the preferences chosen by the customer.
That would
And
be a factory, right?
hmm?
Notification should be a factory, like whether you want notification by SMS, email, or you'll create an
Correct.
object.
So a customer could choose multiple, upon which you should read like the preferences and decide the combinations of the notifications that you should be sending.
Okay. Then even we
Yeah.
can use builder, like flight have options, right? Like
Hmm.
you want food or
Hmm.
whatever other facilities, right?
Right. So
So
flight can definitely be a builder, but yeah, definitely we should implement that. But let's talk about like the we discussed the UML diagram in the beginning. Do you recall? Like
hmm,
this one,
okay.
classes
Hmm.
and the association. So these are like the representations that you will share before which you start to write your code. So usually in large scale companies, when you're saying I'm formally doing the LLD, you will come up with diagrams like this, the association diagrams, UML diagrams. You would run it by your senior engineer and see if there are any anomalies there. So you'd review this, and only after that you start to do the coding. But I'm not sure if it's actively followed anywhere in the industry, but this is the usual way that it should be done. So let's start with flight, which is our core entity, right?
Hmm.
So we start with flight, and UML's notation is like you would define like a plus for the methods, and the normal ones you define like this. Cool. So what is a flight composed of, or
Okay.
what does a flight contain? So you, it should have a number, no, for unique identification.
UUID, flight idea.
Yeah. So let's call it a flight ID, which will be a type of string. Uh, yeah.
So ID
And
for ID and only
List of seats.
sorry.
List of seat.
Seats. Yes, you're right. So a flight should have a list of seats, and seat again is another entity which could be defined by the like
Enum.
what is a seat build of? Yeah, an enum. What type of seat this is? Is it a business class seat, normal class?
Uh,
Then
this seat will.
Departure city and arrival city also it's there.
Exactly. Cool. So arrival and departure, and we define the type of this arrival and departure as airport. No, airport.
Yeah.
So let's call these instances of airport. Cool.
Should seats be a part of airport itself,
You mean
or
like
should
arrival and
airplane,
departure? Sorry.
airplane,
When
should this list of seats be a part of airplane or
mm,
This list of seats should be part of, yeah. Um,
aircraft?
physical seat should be part of aircraft or something.
aircraft?
Because
Okay. Yeah. So
in flight time, we are considering just a flight like from Mumbai to Bangalore, this flight,
exactly.
this time. Only this is the
Exactly.
instance we will be aiming.
Yeah, I do agree with it because each flight is configured with a specific thing during manufacturing itself. You'll see the
Yeah.
partitions, you see the facilities and all, right? So let's make it a part of the aircraft itself. So you have arrival, you have departure, and each flight also has like if you want to
Timing
compute the
Start
route,
time, end time.
you have
should.
start time, end time, but let's keep that as a part of flight instance. No? For
Yeah.
example, what I mean to say is flight instance will have start time. Like for example, some flight could start on Monday, some flight could run on Tuesday. That's the only thing that differentiates flight and flight instance. But the duration of it should not change. Correct? If you are starting from certain airport and if you are reaching a certain departure, certain destination, not departure, then the time should be the same. So let's call this
so
an int. So
duration
int in,
that can be computed, right, using some method. Why do we need to have an attribute for duration?
yeah. So how will you compute it if nobody is providing you that information? Imagine this is like a database table, and you should store it somewhere. No, so you'll have an ORM mapping for this flight to your database or data store or cache, something like that.
I
Yeah.
think it should
So
be distance. Duration could be dependent on various factors, right?
that
Between
makes
two
sense.
mm,
Yeah, let's have a distance which is also an int. So
flight,
duration is probably, let's call it estimated duration. Okay.
okay. ETA sort of, yeah.
Yeah, what all methods will a flight have? So I'm a flight. I said the flight will have instances of it, correct? Instance of a flight is like the runtime instance. So a flight will also have get instances where imagine this is like a one-to-one normalized table in your database, and flight would be your root table, and instances will be referenced by this flight as a foreign key in your flight instance table. Okay, so I should have get instances, which will get me a list of flight instances. I should also support cancellation feature, but will that be here or okay?
No,
Wait.
no, that should be in flight instance actually. Flight instance
Uh,
will cancel. Flight will
hmm,
not cancel because it is a master data actually.
yeah,
Flight will be
flight.
the master
Okay,
data.
yeah, flight instance can get cancelled because flight is not associated with any specific time, right?
Yep. A
So that
flight
makes
we
sense.
are considering just a base class and instances
Hmm.
are just object we are creating.
Right. So let's have so flight also should support adding schedules at which point flight instances are created. Correct. So we should say something like add schedule, which creates a flight instance and returns a flight instance for you. Or should it be part of this, or should it be part of like creating the new flight instance itself? I'm thinking
I
maybe it should.
think
Yeah.
every flight instance having like its own schedule actually.
Hmm.
Mhm.
So I think it should be in flight instance.
Hmm. Cool. Let's keep this as a part of flight instance. So that's all for now. That's what is flight. So let's define like whatever we had added here. No, let's define classes for them and like associate them. So flight to aircraft. What is the association? So we talked about UML associations, right? Where let's see. Yeah. So what is flight to the sorry, what is airport to the flight?
The report to the flight should be
a simple association, no?
Nothing much. Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's
Is
a simple. Nobody is depending on anybody.
no,
Yeah.
no, no. It's depending.
No, it's composition,
Mm,
right? A has an instance of B, right?
but
Right.
airport is not an instance of flight. A flight is not composed of an airport.
Then
So, like physically speaking, a flight object is composed of crew. A flight instance is composed of passengers and all these things. But a flight instance, is it really composed of a?
flight, yes. Otherwise, what's the use of airport?
Mm,
I mean, like, yeah, you can
the,
say you can have an airport without flights also, but that doesn't make
Yeah.
sense.
okay, so
And
let's
they
say
are,
flight and
Eh,
airport follow a composition pattern. Can a flight exist without an airport? For example,
No,
no.
you can't
Yeah,
land it anywhere, right? You need to have a.
exactly. So, is it aggregation or is it composition?
no, flight exist without an airport is not actually airport. Like source and destination is the main part actually.
Correct. So, a flight should have an airport, no, all the time. With otherwise, you can't define a flight. So, should we
Right.
say flight is dependent on airport and it should be a composition?
A is an instance of B in composition. A has an instance of B. Has an is an inter. What is has an? A has an instance.
Is a interface. So, if I say is a, that's an incorrect thing. But I can say has a. So, flight has an instance of airport, but airport.
Airport should.
airport has an instance of like flight. Does that make more sense?
No. Airport should not be composed of anything. It's like a generic entity. It's just saying airport is simply saying what city do you belong to. That's all about it. So maybe name and it's some address like code. You will have a code, no, HYD, DEL, something like that. And what is the address of it? So that's all about it. Cool.
Yeah, yeah,
So
we can say
The
why.
source and destination in the flight could refer to the airport, right?
mm, so yeah. So let's call this an let's call this a composition where so composition is represented by this arrow mark. So let's have this arrow mark, but invert this. How do you invert certain thing?
You have to. No, this won't be inverted as long as because you have picked it from the library.
Okay, let's try
Maybe
to think.
inverted arrow might be there. Check it. Like, or if you want arrow from here, then you can do arrow. Click on arrowheads. You see this.
No, I
Arrow.
think I think this whatever like this arrival and destination we are directly associating with airport. It is not like that actually. It should be city or something. So
Hmm.
like there won't be direct relationship with airport and flight. I think it
Why
should
not?
not be like this.
Why not?
It,
Every
hmm?
airport have the flight, right? Like let's say Indigo is
Yeah.
land.
So I mean, let's define what is an airport first. So airport will have a code of it, right? A code that is a string. Now this unique, this is like IANA code or whatever they call in practical terms. So airport will have a code, and an airport will also have like address.
Name.
Hmm.
Address
Um,
should be a class, separate entity, right?
yeah, address should be a class, and an airport will also tell you.
It
Should we
should
have a
confirm.
name? Like HYD is the short form, Hyderabad, but you should also have like complete name. So let's have a name also.
And
So
yeah.
name.
Yeah, that will come in code actually. Code
Hmm,
name all same. Yeah.
Secondly, a list of flights that operate from this particular airport. Like some are international, some are domestic, right?
good. Yeah,
Yeah, lists
nice.
of
So
flights.
once
Yeah.
that's good. Good caller. So let's have a plus which represents the method and get flights, which will return you instances of flight or flight instance.
What's the difference? Both are one and the same. Looks like flight
No, it should
instance.
Mm,
be list of flight actually, not flight instance.
why?
The flight,
Mm,
I think we are saying by saying like from Mumbai we have flight to Bangalore and
mm.
Delhi and something like this. So we just want to
Correct. But
that
we
on
don't
different,
care which
not
day
time
are
and
they
all.
traveling, like which day are they going in. Yeah. So a flight generally goes from this source to some destination, but we are not particularly asking today which flight is going, tomorrow which flight is going. We just need to probably serve connectivity queries here. and then we, based on this flight, we can get the instances of the flight and answer this question that says, hey, is some flight going today or is some flight going tomorrow? Does it make sense?
Or get flight schedule. I mean, based on
Mm,
the flight ID, if you pass. I mean,
sure.
mm,
Cool. Yeah. So that's airport. What else we define? We defined a flight instance, no? So let's define what a flight instance also is, and what is the
flight.
what
I
is the
mean,
relation? Yeah,
flight instance is just an object of flight, right?
it's an object of flight, but it's also composed of more parameters. So, for example, one flight can have many flight instances, and it will have a like the schedule associated with it. So a flight instance, and this will be one-to-one mapping. So I can take an arrow and
So
draw from here to here.
flight instance is a class you're saying, right?
Yeah, so it's like this. I'm not saying it's a class, but
Mhm.
okay,
I
I'm
thought
not
that
able.
creating an object of the flight itself is a flight instance.
So creating an object of flight is not a flight instance. Let me clarify one second. Let me paste this here and check the flight. Cool. Yeah, let me clarify what this is, how these are different. Okay.
Mhm.
So one flight can have multiple flight instances. Now, what differentiates them? Do you see any time here? Like which time is some flight going on? Like initially, I mentioned something like one flight can run every day. It could run every hour. It could run every weekly once. Correct.
Mhm.
So how am I differentiating a flight that is set to start from one to another, like from this source, this duration, etc., versus some flight that is traveling on Thursday, some flight that's traveling on Friday? How do I differentiate them?
So
So
every corresponding to
yeah,
every ID of the flight, you will have its details, right, on which they talk about.
yeah. So which I incorporate, but I don't want to again duplicate multiple details. So composition is all about defining core entities and then extending them as you see fit. Correct.
In the
So we
in
want,
in
yeah.
the flight class itself, you could have mentioned
Mm.
the schedule, a parameter called schedule, right? So corresponding
Mm,
to that flight ID, let's say I want to, hey, give me the schedule of this flight ID. It will tell you all the iterations and schedules, everything. Like this particular
mm.
flight operates on Saturday, Sunday,
Okay. Now
Monday.
think about this
Uh,
case. How do I
uh,
represent whether a flight has been cancelled or not? Like
one
Tuesday's
one
flight
point
could
I
be
want to
cancelled. Yeah.
Go
one
ahead.
point I was feeling like for flight instance should be that like for one flight is there, it is like from Mumbai to Bangalore, okay,
Mm,
and this is the time, okay,
mm,
like from Mumbai to Bangalore 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. one flight is there, okay.
mm,
Now it is repeating daily basis, like date by date or for year long, something like this, okay.
mm.
So I think flight instance should be associated with date only, because the
Date.
schedule of the flight schedule,
Mm,
like schedule will be fixed actually.
mm.
Like flight instance is a variable part actually, and flight is
Yeah.
like the
So
core part, like core part.
right.
Even the schedule of the flight is also associated with keval only flight,
Mm.
it seems to me. Now you are
Schedule
canceling
also
the
is
flight.
associated with
Now when
flights.
you will say like
Mm,
flight will be cancelled, like flight for 25th December cancelled, but
mm.
schedule will be associated with the flight only. I feel something like this. What do you think?
Sure, we can. Yeah, let's get back to the schedule in just a moment. Once we define these entities and this method, we can define like where does it see fit. Okay. Let's get back to that. So first, a flight will have a status. Do you all agree? Like scheduled, cancelled. What else can happen? You'll have a status, no?
Yeah, status.
That you can have it as an enum.
Yeah, status is an enum. So enum of scheduled,
Cancel.
cancelled, delayed. Yeah, delayed could also be one status. You could
On
have
route.
Completed.
many.
On
Hmm?
route.
Completed.
On,
Completed.
it is in flight condition, like it's moving.
Huh.
It should have date.
It should
Yes.
have date.
Start
Yeah.
date.
So
Start.
schedule. Can we say schedule is a date time that contains schedule.
No, schedule and date both are different actually.
Mm.
Uh,
Why?
schedule.
Schedule is repeat. continuously repeating.
Okay, call it. So let's call
But
it
date
departure
is
time in
like,
that case. Yeah, let's call it departure time.
Hmm.
So a flight instance, you can only predict the departure time of it. Arrival time is a part of the schedule. Like when I
Hmm?
say schedule, I mean like we should map these two entities. One entity that says when am I starting, when am I ending, and another entity that says mm, okay. I think there should be schedule. Schedule will be containing
can
departure
we
time as
can we create a schedule, a separate entity?
yeah. Let's call schedule as a separate entity, and that will contain the departure time and arrival time. Okay,
Yeah.
schedule, which is a schedule, and yeah. So we'll also have some methods, no? Methods that talk about update
No,
the.
I
Hmm,
have one query here.
yeah.
So the same flight when goes to the destination,
Hmm,
that will be a different schedule, and each schedule have different arrival and destinations, right? Basically.
correct.
So the
Uh,
destination should be part of flight or instance, arrival and
Destination
destination.
is fixed. So so how do you define a, like, imagine you are in database and you are looking for unique flights, so you will group by these things to find the unique flights, correct? So if there is a different destination for a flight, you would call that a different flight. It won't be this flight.
I mean, tomorrow the same flight can go to different destination.
Yeah, that will be no, same flight cannot go to an
That doesn't.
aircraft can
No,
go
no,
to
that
different
would be
destination.
aircraft.
Yeah, that's not the flight. So that's why we distinguish between flight and aircraft here.
I guess both are same only at the higher level, right? Flight and aircraft, isn't it? Or
The same
No, no,
example
no.
that it's mentioned now, right? Same aircraft can
hmm.
go to a different destination tomorrow. So I need to map aircraft. I also need to map flight. And flight is an instance of an aircraft. Or sorry, what is the relation between flight and aircraft?
if
Mm,
one flight
Flight
can
is
have.
aircraft is like a Boeing you said, right? Or maybe a
correct.
Indigo flight or Boeing or Airbus. Now
Mm,
I have booked a ticket from Mumbai to Kerala, then
mm,
the aircraft will become a flight for me, right?
No,
mm.
you
But
don't worry about.
there is also one catch here. There is also one catch here.
Mm,
Um, in a multi-hop booking,
mhm.
so if we say a multi-hop booking is made with a list of flights, okay, so let's call it that way. So let's say you are traveling from source A to destination C where B is also there. You'll have one flight from A to B, you'll have another flight from B to C. So in a multi-hop booking, let's call it that way. Then each flight will only have one aircraft associated with, so it's like a one aircraft
Mm.
associated with it.
No,
No,
no, no, no,
it can
I
no.
be like, let's say
that
you leave Mumbai to Hyderabad, you went right with flight A.
Hmm.
Then flight B will go from Hyderabad to let's say Delhi. So two flights,
Hmm.
two aircraft can come in one flight in a multi-hop kind of thing.
Correct,
One
but
flight.
we model
No,
them
no,
as
one second.
multiple flights.
No,
Mhm.
one second, one second.
I mean,
Actually, I think so. For one flight can have a many aircraft
Why?
because, like,
Hmm.
because I'm saying the reason because, like, there might be possibility like that flight time is fixed, but might be that
Hmm.
particular aircraft is not working or something. They can replace
Hmm.
that particular aircraft with some other thing. But for
Right,
Hmm.
flight instance, for that
Hmm.
particular flight instance, which is a journey, for that the
Hmm.
aircraft will be one only.
Okay,
right,
got it.
right. Makes sense.
Cool. So let's make aircraft associated with the flight instance rather than flight.
No, no. Actually, aircraft we can keep it with flight instance only.
One flight can have many aircrafts, isn't it? For a
Yeah,
multi-hop.
Yeah,
yeah.
true. So cool. This will maintain one to n instance with this using composition, and it will maintain this with this. So let's define what a schedule is. So a schedule should have a
Mm.
start time. It should have an end time also. And can we say list of start times and list of end times? Like for example, I wanna.
Hmm.
So okay. So what is it? It's a day and date. So schedule is a day and date and time, right? So it should have date, it should have
Eh,
time, and it should have like start date,
No,
start
no,
time.
no. It should have only time, day,
Hmm.
time
Why?
and day,
I mean,
not
time
date.
and day. Okay.
Wait one
International.
second. Time and day, like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
No, no. But for international flight, it takes like 2 days, 3 days, 24 hours, 48 hours, right? Let's say from India to
Hmm.
US or somewhere else you're going, right? Via layovers. So in that case, date also.
So if you want to map this recurring schedule, that says
Second.
this flight runs every 2 days, this flight runs every 3 days, uh, are we successful in representing? I think we'll still be able to represent it. I mean, we'll create as many flight instances as there are that represent the start day, start time, and end day and end time. So let's not complicate this process.
Hmm.
We'll
Okay.
also have an end day and end time, right? So all of these are, this is like date, this is like time.
Now,
So
within 1 day, it might do 3 trips, two
definitely,
trips.
you'll have you'll have distinct times. So you'll have multiple flight instances, each differentiated by its schedule instance, like the schedule, and all will be different because the object comparison of the flight instance will definitely yield you not equal, as long as you're
So
able to do that.
in this case, flight instance and schedule will be having one-to-one relationship or what?
Flight instance and schedule will have, yeah, one flight instance will only have one schedule. So we can definitely say that's a one-to-one instance. But many schedule, sorry,
Many flight instance
many
can have use
schedules,
same schedule.
yeah, exactly. So many instances can use same schedule. So this should be 1 to n. One flight instance will have, sorry, again there is a
N to one,
direction
N to
also
one.
here. Yeah. So n flight instances can use same schedule, n to 1. Cool. So yeah, we defined these classes so far. Now we also need to define so many others. So let's define reservation, which is also a core entity. Imagine aircraft. Yeah, we also defined aircraft. We defined till, yeah. Imagine seat exists. It's not like a core entity. But let's talk about the reservation, flight reservation class.
Flight reservation or only reservation?
Maybe
It's
let's
just
call it.
reservation.
Yeah, let's
So
call it
just
reservation,
reservation, right?
because flight. How are they different? So you are reserving a flight instance, which means you are
Hmm.
also reserving a seat in the flight instance, right? So you'll seat will be a part of flight. Seat will be part of reservation. So let's say reservation should have a number. Unlike schedule and all, you should have a unique number associated with it. So reservation number that uniquely identifies a given reservation. And you should say which flight you are associated with. We are not booking against an instance, or wait.
Reservation
Yeah,
should be
we are
against instance
booking
only.
against an instance because we also take care of the schedule. So it should be against an instance. And we are booking a seat, right? But we, so here is where one of our functional requirements comes into picture. So if I'm booking a single seat, I'm not supporting the fact that one reservation can hold multiple passengers. So this is a anti pattern against our functional requirement. So what is the ideal data structure for a seat?
Sorry,
Uh,
I didn't get what is the anti pattern?
Yeah. So imagine I define, so we took a functional requirement here that said one reservation should be able to accept multiple passengers. One
one
user,
seat. Hmm.
yeah, one user should be able to book for multiple passengers in the same reservation.
Yeah.
So what's
So
the issue
So
in
what is the issue in them?
it should not be a single seat. It should be a
List of
map
No,
of
it
seats.
will be a list of seats
List
actually.
of seats.
list of seats. You can't associate a passenger with a seat. No, each passenger also should have a seat. So I think it should be a map, which contains like a map of passenger and
hence?
the seat associated with it.
That makes more sense. These passenger on
Hmm.
the seat, right?
I have
Passenger
a
and seat,
doubt.
right?
In reservation, we should be having a maybe a map or list of flight instance, right? As Shashank told in the example, I'm going from
Hmm.
Mumbai to Hyderabad. That would be
Hmm.
one flight. Hyderabad to I got a layover
Okay.
at Hyderabad. Then Hyderabad to Kolkata. That's another flight.
Exactly. I do agree. Yeah, list, and this should also preserve ordering. List obviously preserves ordering, so this should be um Yeah. So because we model them as separate entities, right? One multi-hop is modeled as multi flights. So let's call this flights um, flights list. Yeah, cool. So then what else we'll have? Each reservation could be cancelled. We said, right?
Flight
Reservation could.
list.
Mm.
Sorry, why we make it flight lists?
Because let's say you are having a multi-hop flight from A to C, where
But
you have a
Okay, okay,
for
okay.
customer, it is only one flight only. Na, that will be, I think, flight instance will take care of that. I
Flight
think.
instance is simply identified by one flight. So it depends on how we are modeling it. For the
Mm-hmm.
customer, we are giving them a booking number and we are saying yours is a multi-hop flight where
Mm-hmm.
your itinerary is composed of two flights. And we mention like this is the first flight in this and this is the second flight in this. So this
Mm-hmm.
naturally
Okay,
makes sense.
okay.
Yeah, that is right
Yeah, I
actually.
think in real
Uh, just one
situation
suggestion.
also two flight numbers are given.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Just
Cool.
one suggestion. Like when we are looking for the multiple flight list, in that case, like I think we should map the seat with the whatever the flight we have. I think in this
Hmm. Good
we should
point.
have
Yeah,
that.
you should have multiple flights also. So this will be map of seat, but seat will internally
Internal to that reservation, like the
because
in this
passenger
one
is
there should
also
be the
in,
list of reservation, like the
yeah. So there
whatever.
should be list of seats. Yeah, there should be list of seats because we are having multiple flights. Cool. What else? So we should have the
If
status.
But
Yeah, that talks about enum, which is booked, cancelled.
cost
But this
cost
mapping will not show like which passenger
Mm,
and like for one passenger you have a list of seats actually.
mm,
Okay,
mm,
maybe we have two hope. Okay,
mm,
so first seat will be Delhi to Mumbai, then second seat will be used for
mm,
Mumbai to Bangalore, right? For that
mm,
you use this. But by using this map and list of passenger and list of seats, I
mm.
don't think it will be creating any relationship with this actually. Is it?
Mm.
How
Yeah,
do the passenger come to know like the in these two seats which one
Mm.
is for him
Instead,
like
I think
what?
they can give a flight number in the seat entity itself.
So
I
each
think
seat could be associated with a particular
Seat should
flight.
be associated with yeah flight. So in the
Or
seat
seat
entity
is, yeah,
also we
wait,
can
wait,
give
wait.
that.
Okay,
Yeah.
No, no,
hang
seat
on.
should be
What we
associated
said
with
is seat should
aircraft.
be associated with the aircraft, right?
Right,
So
right.
reservation
aircraft,
can have itinerary, like the if there are multiple flight, then that could be under itinerary, and the multiple itinerary can be under one reservation, something like that.
mm, could be
Uh,
so. Yeah, I think
Hold on for a
reservation.
sec. Like this link will expire in 3 minutes. Okay, so I'm just sharing the fresh link here.
1 second.
Okay. So let's join that only because in between it will expire.
Cool.
So let's in this meet itself.
Yep. Shashank, I'm hoping you will manage the companion thing.
Yeah, that meet would have expired in 2 minutes. Yeah, you can share screen.
Okay, I'm sharing it. So we talked so far till so
So
the point we were discussing is where should seat be associated with and how will I be able to tell which seat belong to which flight instance. So my mental model is like this: a seat is always associated with an aircraft. Okay, so I'm mentioning the aircraft here and flight instance is composed of the aircraft anyway. Okay, so we can mention the aircraft here, so we should be able to tell given a particular. Okay, what if they both are of same aircraft again? Yeah, that's a contention point. mm, okay, suggest a better data structure here. So you'll have a map of passenger and list of seat. Should we create a flight seat? Yeah, let's do that. So when in contention, whenever you are looking for some object that you do not find, right? So you would need a specific instance of it. So just like how flight and flight instance exist, I could create seat and seat instance. Now let's define what these are. What is a seat? A seat should have a number, correct? Seat number.
Hmm.
A seat should
Type
have a
of seat.
number.
Type
It
seat.
should have a type, like is it business class seat? Is it normal class? Oh wait, what is the type of a seat? Is it like a reclining seat, non-reclining seat, something like that?
Yeah, reclining, non-reclining, or
Uh,
could
Window
be
seat, normal aisle seat, whatnot. So you'll
right.
have a class. Is this a business
On the
class? Is this a what? Yeah,
enum you can have.
right. So you'll also have get seat type, and we are unable to associate a seat to a specific flight. So what we'll be doing is we'll create a uh, flight seat. Okay. So let's create a flight seat. And what will this do is it will uniquely identify a flight by its seat. So what all it should contain? A flight seat should contain a reservation number, right?
Seat ID it should have.
Seat number is there, no?
Acha, same thing. Okay. Hmm.
So flight seat extends seat, but in addition, what will it have is a reservation number, which is a string. That's all. Cool.
Hmm. So
But
what do
yeah,
you
we
mean?
also said we should support payments, no? Which means we should have each seat
It is
talking
not
about its
reserve.
fare.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sorry. Actually, seat should be not reservation number, because in reservation number there might be a multiple
Mm,
passenger will be there. So flight seat will be directly
mm,
related to a passenger or user ID.
okay. So
No, reservation number will have.
We can add reservation also, but reservation number also, but user
mm,
should be there because seat will
Mhm.
be
yeah,
directly used by passenger.
right.
One to one
So you
mapping.
should have a reservation number. You should also have passenger ID,
Passenger ID.
and in addition, you should have a fare also, like the
No,
cost.
that will be in your reservation, not here, right?
Hmm?
See, um, so for example,
I mean,
um,
what do you
mm,
mean by flight seat when already we have a seat?
Seat will
so
be a physical seat which is a part of like aircraft actually, and
Okay.
flight
mm,
seat is the like the seat which is like booked by a user.
So why can't
So
we put
like
that
it is a
into reservation?
no like
see, that's what we were having an issue, right? So why did we even start with the flight seat? So we tried to map
Hmm.
seat inside here, okay? But if I map seat inside this, I'm unable to uniquely identify, like we tried to model this seat as a part of aircraft. But what if you have multi-hop aircraft, right? So if I have a multi-hop aircraft, I'm unable to uniquely distinguish which seat belongs to which passenger. So we said we'll have a flight seat, and in addition,
Map of map you
Can
could
we
have
have
made.
a map
or
of passenger ID plus flight
hmm,
ID? Then I can get a unique.
No, or map of map we could have. We could have. I mean, we can have,
hmm,
right, like passenger, and then again inside that value will be a map which will make flight
okay,
and then seat here, rather than, because that would be an unnecessary
hmm.
making a flight seat, right?
What?
So hmm,
mm,
unnecessary.
Rather than remove the list and make a map over there where the key will be flight and comma seat.
no, I think actually one more point I come to know actually, like flight instance also have a relation with seat actually. So
Hmm.
shouldn't it, flight instance should have a relation with flight seat.
Flight
What?
instance should have no. Why?
Hmm?
Why? Seats are reservation concept. No.
No, seat or reservation concept, but flight seat is a part of like a particular flight, right?
Okay.
So that
So
flight
you'll have a
seat
list
should
of
be
flight seats here. But
Hmm.
if I define a
Uh,
list of flight
No,
seats,
by that logic, reservation is also a part of flight instance, right?
hmm?
As though like everything will be part of flight. Flight reservation is
yeah,
also
let's
part
not tightly couple these objects. Let's
of
keep them like this only. So you are anyway tracking like whether. So what do you want to do with the seat? You want to see if it's booked or not. If all the seats are booked, or if some seats are available.
No,
Correct.
no.
That's what you
uh,
do.
I have a
So if
question.
hmm?
For example, if I'm an admin or if
mm,
an interviewer and she told me that get me the list of passengers who are
mm,
traveling in this flight.
mm.
Hmm. So
So
how do you
how
get this
do
information?
So
get
a
this?
For
flight,
that
I
we need
mean,
to find
I
flight
think you are
instance.
mentioning flight instance. So your
Yeah.
reservations is anyway part of your database table, right? So flights list is composed of flight instances, and here you will do some sort of one-to-one normalization where you'll map the reservation ID.
Ah,
Sorry,
flight.
you'll map the flight instance against the reservation.
huh.
So then you'll query it and return all of the
Yeah.
reservation where
Even
this
we
flight
when
ID is mentioned. Yeah.
even when we are going to book the seat in a flight, that time we need to show the complete map of the seats. Okay, so
Yeah.
that complete map will be related to that flight instance only.
So then in the flight instance, we do need to have a
Hmm.
list of seats, right?
List of seats should be there actually.
Yeah. And which seats are booked, which seats are available.
Right. How do we
What
show that particular pop like that
Hmm.
screen?
Hmm.
Okay.
reservation? What will you give then?
Hmm?
So reservation
Reservation.
is empty. So having
No.
reservation number as null indicates that, or these as null indicates that these are never booked. So you'll use the reservation number to identify if a seat has been booked or not. Yeah, let's see. Or we could also have a status that says booked or not.
Mm, mm.
Flight status.
What is the issue? I didn't get Shashank. Like reservation.
I'm saying if you are tightly coupling seats with the flight instance, right? You already have a reservation, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Reservation will already have that info key, this key.
Shashank,
Uh-huh.
reservation is just for me. I am booking the flight for my family, but
True.
the flight will have 100 seats.
True. So
I
that
will.
those entries will be there in the database, correct? Reservation DB. To this flight ke corresponding this seat you have booked, right?
The reservation number will
In
always be unique for for
For
particular
for
ticket.
booked seats, for not for seats that are not booked, I would not have any representation of how many seats are there in this flight, what are the status. So you would not have any map of it. So I think it makes sense to add a list of flight seats to flight instance. That is not an anti pattern, although it appears to be like tightly coupled, but it makes
no,
sense to have it.
no, we can't think like tightly coupling everywhere because something is it's there coupling is required actually. Flight
Hmm.
instance and seat because seat is a
Hmm.
part of the flight only, so we have to
Hmm.
couple it.
Okay,
Hmm.
sounds fair.
Now,
And this reservation, I think, na, only we need to show that for that particular reservation, like four seats are there. So only that seat is required. Like only just we.
flight shouldn't
Mm,
have list of flight instances, just like
mm.
flight instances have list of seats. So flight shouldn't have list of flight instances.
No, actually, flight have a relation with the flight instances. One to many relationship like flight and flight instance.
Okay,
If it
exactly.
is required, no, 1 second.
Huh?
If it is required, if you want to get that from flight to flight number of flight, then we can have a list of flight of instance. Otherwise, not required. But there will be a relation with flight to flight instance, one to many relationship. So you want list there or not? That will be depends on your feature requirement.
Yeah, so you're saying one flight will have many flight instances, right? So why
Right.
don't you have
No,
list of
no, it will not have like something like this, but database relation will be something like this. Like flight will be having multiple flight instances. Like
Yeah,
flight ID will
imagine.
go as a foreign key into flight instance table.
Yeah, that's what I mentioned earlier. So imagine
Yeah.
flight is like your root table, and in database denormalization, you would have like the root item, that's the definition, and the items table. So I've come across this pattern numerous times where you'll have all the common attributes stored somewhere, and you'll have the varying attributes stored somewhere. So this is your common attribute store, which is your flight.
Mm.
Flight instance is that thing that uniquely mentions, and rather than duplicating, for example, there can be a flight instance on every hour, right? So rather than duplicating all these details, what you would say is mention this unique flight ID as the foreign key inside the flight instance.
Right. Hmm.
Mhm.
Cool. So anything else that goes into the flight reservation? So someone called out a requirement that said I should, as an admin, I should look at a particular flight and talk about who all are the passengers in this, right?
Yeah, yeah.
The front office operations look at a flight and retrieve the passengers. So I can do so by using the reservations table, no? Like I'll go
N-
to the
uh,
reservations table.
Not by reservation table, by flight
By flight
instance. I think we
instance.
can get flight instance table. We will select where seat status is booked. With that, we can get all the detail,
Yeah,
I think.
And
yeah.
one
So that's
reservation date time also we need to add, like to see the if we want to check later, like
hmm,
during cancellation or something, we might require the date timestamp.
date time. That's a duplication. We should not allow duplication. So if you want to see the time at which this is scheduled, reservation should let you access the flight instance. Flight instance should let you access the schedule, and you should be able to show like that using a join query or something of that sort.
No,
We should
not
not
for the
duplicate them.
flight status. Like when the reservation was done, do we need to check
Oh,
Created it,
okay.
only
created.
the
Yeah.
Got it, got it.
booking?
Okay, makes sense. So
Mm-hmm.
created at last updated at something like that.
Mm-hmm. Because
So what
normally
will
we cancel or modify also no reservation that time we may require.
Maybe you will support a feature that says you should only modify
The
reservation
normally in
twice.
booking system we support like these systems.
Okay, that makes sense.
what's the use
Anything?
of that? I didn't get. Can you come again, Priyanka? Like last updated time.
When
Uh,
reservation was created and all, I
Okay.
think.
and modified
And
also. I think
updated.
for modified we have added this last updated time.
Mm.
Okay.
Yeah,
Let's say if you want to add one more seat, right after.
Yeah, we modify because we have option to modify the reservation
not
also.
Mhm.
just that. You should also be showing the cancelled reservations.
Okay.
So,
So
um,
cancelled, yeah, in updated only will so na cancelled also like.
Do we have update reservation option to add one more seat?
Yeah,
I
I
don't
think
think
only
it's there.
airline.
we did not support that in functional requirements. So for
No,
now,
no,
I
no,
should
I don't
not
think
even
so.
function.
Airline also
Not I'm
doesn't.
asking.
In real time, I
Is
think in
it?
airline and all we
It
have that.
doesn't support.
I don't think it.
No, no.
It is not there actually.
Yeah, it's not that I've seen that. Once you
Mm.
reserved it, then you have to create a next
It's done
reservation.
actually. You
Yeah,
have to make a new reservation.
Okay.
Because of that, only people do same reservation same time to getting closer seats
yeah. No.
in train
cool.
actually.
That happens in e-commerce. Like you can add to the cart and before
I think
price.
in rent car and all, I think yeah, in the flight, I think we can't do
नहीं नहीं वो
in any
actually
booking.
reservation update नहीं होता actually. It's
Hmm.
not there. I
So
think so
one
far
flight
is
instance
good, but
will have
one point
10
I'm
reservations.
one
Go on.
point I am thinking is like still in reservation, are we
Hmm,
able to support like if we have a multiple hops in our journey,
hmm.
are we able to represent it properly with so that I can come to know like from Delhi to Mumbai, I will go with this seat, this flight, and
Why not?
Mumbai to Bangalore.
Yeah, see, first you have a flight seat inside that reservation, correct? Flights
Mm-hmm.
list. It will give you the list of flights that are connected, and these are ordered by the way. So then you have a list of flight seats. Like flight seat has association with the flight also. So flight seat should
Flight seat
have
will
the
be have
flight
a
yeah,
flight instance ID.
flight ID. Yeah, flight ID. Should flight instance also have an ID is what I'm thinking. I think it should be with flight instance
Mm-hmm.
because seat is associated with an instance, right? So it should be flight instance. We don't need an ID, like store the entire flight instance here. So by this you should be able to show the user what flight has what seat booked. Cool.
Flight
What is our
instance.
next functional requirement? I'm sorry. Go
No,
on.
no, no.
Yeah. So let's see if we are able to satisfy the functional requirements we defined so far. with what we have and what is missing. So
So
first functional requirement is should be able to search for flights. Now, how will the search happen? Based on source and destination. So you give a source and destination. I have a flights table and I have a flight instance table that I'll use to do a join and query. Like you gave a particular date. I have the date in the schedule, the start day and the end day, and I have the flight that's carrying the arrival and the destination. So we will be able to write such a query.
Yeah,
um,
that is fine.
Reserve a ticket for any displayed flight. User should be able to book multiple hops. We just checked that reservation is able
Yeah.
to do that, right? What is the
Mm.
next functional requirement? User
okay,
shall be able to book.
Surya,
Yeah.
one question on that, like the for the multiple hop, like if let's say like one flight is getting cancelled, right?
Hmm.
So then how we are mapping it? Here we are mapping the seat map and everything, but then
Hmm.
like we have to do the changes in the reservation, right?
Yeah.
Rather than doing that, I think what we can do is like we have a like reservation ID is here, and then one is the list of the itineraries or some
Hmm.
other entity in which like whatever
Hmm.
the hops they have, that information can be there, and then if one flight is getting cancelled or something like that, that can be
Hmm.
managed in that only, something
Mm.
like that.
Okay, so you're saying many reservations can go into one itinerary. So that's a very valid point.
No, no,
So
like
there
the
are,
one reservation can have a many itinerary, like or
that's
I
not correct. No.
okay, like the I am just confusing with the terminology. Yeah, it could be other way around, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
that should flight instance should have list of itinerary, right?
Wait. No,
No, no,
no.
it is the
Flight instance
user
will never have
specific, right?
itinerary. So,
Yeah,
okay,
Oh.
when in doubt, what is associated with what? Ask yourself this question: who are you sharing this with, and who is dependent on it? So, who will you share the itinerary with? You'll share it with customer. Agree?
right, right.
Itinerary is only shared with customers. So let's draw that first. Cool.
Oh, we don't share it with the flights.
Yeah. So internally, your system only cares about reservations. Like you will only talk about one flight aspect. But when you talk in terms of customer, you will share itinerary with your customer, which is composed of multiple reservations, right? So one itinerary will have so
Reserve.
starting airport, because you'll have like which airport I'm starting, right? You'll have a starting airport, you'll have destination airport, okay? And when did I create this? So created timestamp, and it will also have list of reservations. So list of reservations, at which point we don't need to map
Li-
like
No, do we
multiple.
need list of reservation here?
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. If you go by the concept of one reservation having multiple flight instances, then you
No,
do not need to have it.
no.
Otherwise, what we are
Mhm.
saying is,
Mm.
yeah.
How can one
So
reservation have multiple flight instances corresponding to
No,
one
no.
entity?
I think no.
yeah,
Itinerary part is right
in that
actually,
case we should
but
modify this to have one flight. So if we have an
So
itinerary concept, right? So
is that the requirement that we have to actually support the multiple
yeah, we,
instance?
we just
Or,
said that in one of the requirements, we said we should be able to support multiple hops.
Hmm.
User should be able to book
but
multiple hops.
that's an ambiguous requirement. Multiple hops by the same
Hmm.
aircraft or different aircraft.
Different aircrafts.
But
They
it's
are
not
not the
clear
same
from the
aircraft.
requirement.
Okay.
It can be
no.
Imagine there are
single.
Even this,
multiple
even
engines supported.
even this, if we want to
Why
support
we are
it,
doing over engineering here, that if it's not clear unless that the interviewer or whoever actually asked this question actually.
Okay, imagine you are the interviewer. He asked it. How you are going to model it?
No. If you will actually do try to solve everything in 30
Hmm.
minutes, it
Hmm.
will not be possible. So that's
Yeah.
why the I always try to push it to narrow
Hmm.
down the requirement.
no. Right. Actually, but might be there is a some interviewer which
Extended
is like a very kind of person who directly
repeat.
asks this use case only. Then we have to solve that time within 30 minutes only, right? That might be possible.
Yeah. So anyway, we took the requirement. So let's solve that requirement. So instead of having one reservation maintain multiple flights, we are gonna say we will offload that to itinerary, which manages a list of reservations. And so
But
yeah, that
every
yeah.
reservation should have itinerary, right? Why itinerary needs to have reservation?
So So, Shashank,
No,
even
no,
the
one.
basic question, sorry to interrupt you guys, that I mean, for the first requirement, we assume that we solve that first requirement for search the flight.
Mm.
So
Mm-hmm.
the user should be able to search the flight, right?
Mm.
So how we are actually solve that?
Why is that a question? So flight, when we have flights,
Yes.
we took a flight instance, which is a representation of route table in the
No,
database.
so I'm an user and I want to book a flight.
Hmm.
So how the flow will look like here with that to solve that requirement,
It will
where
be
we are
actually a
actually
join
capturing
of.
the source or uh, uh, airport and the destination of airport. Those are not mapped. I don't see anything actually bound with the any flight instance.
Flight instance
Oh,
is making a job. So I already mentioned this, but here again, flight instance is a table that will be pre-populated with all the schedules. So there will be some worker or someone who is going to like so there is a flight. This is not changing. This won't change. But some worker or someone is coming here and creating those flight instances. For example, like this flight is scheduled to run every Thursday. So let me create so many flight instances and map them against the
yeah,
database.
that is fine. Flight instance is there, but how the end user, as a user, I will search that flight?
You
Do
will
we
provide.
have?
So
Do
initiate a
we
query in the
do we
backend.
capture that?
Parameters.
Do we capture that the source and destination airport with the flight instance?
See, this is a join happening here, right? In the database table, this will be a one-to-n join, which means this flight ID will be a foreign key in the flight instance. Okay. So I make a join with this and I say, get me all where the source equal to this source, where this destination equal to this destination, and schedule will be like having two parameters, the start time and end time in themselves. So this is all again ORM mapping. So where start day equal to this, where start day equal to this basically.
Is it an efficient way of searching, or shouldn't we use some sort of inverted index here, like already have schedule and
Why do
corresponding?
I need inverted index? So, I mean, if you properly index these columns, it's
Mhm.
not going to be a long running query.
No, no, actually, it is Shashank, if you're talking about like a high level design point of view, then I think like joining three tables, and when user is going to query like from this date to this date and the source and destination, joining and querying these three table will not be efficient solution. I think from these are the I think master tables actually. We should like iterative basis, we should keep the data into some other container,
Hash map sort of thing. Yeah, I thought
kind
that
of
in.
like Elasticsearch or kind of there, so that it will be faster search. I
Why
don't
will
think
Okay.
this
that
is a.
not be efficient? Can you explain why? See, I'm saying I'll have an index on the arrival. I'll have an index on the destination. I'll have an index on the start day. So I've seen tables having billions of records still being served in less than 10 millisecond latency, 10 20 millisecond latency, even 5
But we need
millisecond
to make a
latency.
three join, right? Yeah.
Doesn't matter how many joins you're making. So how do joins work? Read about b trees internally. So you can join 10 tables and still be able to serve it in 5 milliseconds, because b tree does a lot of pruning. It knows exactly which page number, and before joining itself, if you do proper joins, it will not do any discrete at all. First it will first seek the b tree, get the ids, do computation on the ids, make a join on the ids, and exactly do discrete on the particular ids where these columns are located. So you could join 10 tables, you can join how many ever you want. I mean, maybe how many ever you want is a big statement, but you could join three tables having billion records, still be able to serve if you are doing proper indexing.
What sort of index you are using for flight? Like
Relational tables would only use B-tree indices. You could probably change it in Postgres and other things.
true. I mean, what is the index key? I mean, index
Okay,
column.
so yeah, so
That
flight ID would be the primary key,
Okay.
and you'll have one on the arrival airport, one on the arrival destination airport.
Acha.
source
Okay.
destination and time, I think.
Won't
that
that
we are talking about.
make
Okay,
the
okay.
lab
Anyway,
slow?
we are digressing
Anyway, this is low
from
level
our
design. Let's not
LLD. Yeah,
digress
Right.
into
yeah.
unnecessary
Let's not
aspects.
digress actually. Mm.
So,
So, Surya, one point actually I was thinking. I was thinking here actually, this
mm,
itinerary part actually. Can you zoom in?
Zoom out. अच्छा
Sorry,
zoom
zoom out. Not. Okay, I was thinking like this itinerary part. What if we keep a relation with flight instance having a one to many relation with itinerary? Because like when a user is like booking any flight, okay, he will be booked like Delhi to Bangalore. Okay,
mm,
from Delhi to Bangalore, uh, that flight instance will be responsible like what is the itinerary in that particular journey actually. So this itinerary will be, if we are keeping relationship with one to many with
mm.
itinerary, then how it will work or not.
Yeah, so see, itinerary is what is shared with customer. So because this contains multiple flights, flight instance is like I'm talking about a single flight. Okay, so if in a multi-hop journey, okay, a multi-hop journey is considered of multiple reservations where one reservation does not entirely map to one flight instance. One reservation maps to multiple flight instances. So that's why we are saying if we are satisfying the multi-hop requirement,
Mm.
one reservation,
No,
sorry, one, yeah, many reservations do belong to one itinerary. Okay, so one itinerary ID is what we share with the customer. Itinerary will have multiple reservations
no, we
underneath
don't
it.
share itinerary ID with the customer. Actually, we tell customer only that from A to B and B to
Hmm,
C. A to
hmm.
B is a one itinerary and B to C is a one itinerary. Because the
Customers
customer want to
literally
go from
talk in terms of itinerary. When you go to a booking operator,
hmm,
when you go to any tourism operator, booking operator, or anybody, customers don't care about reservations. They talk in terms of what is my itinerary. For
no,
example,
no, no.
if you want, yeah,
One second. What do you mean by itinerary here? I was associating
itinerary
it
is
with
your plan,
hops,
is your
multiple
schedule.
hops.
Itinerary. Hmm?
I was associating it with the multiple hops in the one flight.
It could be
Is
so.
that
Itinerary is anything that says here is your plan. So, for example, today is a flight
so?
booking system. Yeah.
No, no, no. Then if
Imagine you also extend your system to become like along with
uh,
the flights, I
uh,
give you the complete package of hotels, whatnot.
so
So
then that is not our use case now. We are not booking a
that's not a use case. Yeah, we're
travel
understanding
booking. We are not a travel agency
exactly.
booking
But
system.
what
So I
is wrong
think
with this? See, you have an itinerary concept. I share the itinerary
no.
ID with you.
Actually,
Hmm,
we are creating a system of like flight booking system. We are not
hmm.
creating platform of Make My Trip, which is
Fine.
supporting like
Okay.
all packages and all.
It's
Still
almost
fine.
same only, similar only, right? Minor
Hmm?
subtle differences are there, right?
It's fine. Yeah. What
Nee,
is
nee, nee,
the
nee.
problem with this? Tell me the specific problem you have with having an itinerary
No,
concept.
itinerary in the sense like people is going like one person is going for like a
Hmm,
trip. Okay,
hmm,
then
hmm.
there will become the point of this topic of this itinerary actually.
This is also
If
No,
some
no, no,
itinerary.
no.
You
person,
have
You are correct.
multi-hop
You are,
airport. You have a
hmm,
multi-hop airport. I'm promising. So, if you think about it, tourism or
hmm,
whatever is just about travel. And if your travel
yeah,
composes of a hotel booking or not is up to you. So, I have a
hmm,
travel that's starting at source A, destination D. I could have multi-hops in between. So, my itinerary will give you all the details that say so I have booked separate reservations for you. I tied all these reservations and I club the concept of payment also. Have you paid? How have you paid? So all this cannot be part of one single class called reservation. So you saw what happened when we tried to make reservations as the whole entity. So we had to do some complex magic here, right? So we had to create a list of flight seats, then do some computation to map the flight against the flight seat and all. This all would be simplified if you create. So whenever you're seeing such a complication, think can there be an overarching thing on top of this? Itinerary is the overarching thing which you have been missing. If I have something
hmm,
like that, then I do not need to complicate my reservation process. I'll have a itinerary. There can be multiple reservations in an itinerary. Each reservation can be so again. Someone posed the question like, what if one of the flights is cancelled? So that will be a part of reservation. your itinerary
So
could still be the choice to the customer, saying, I cancel this reservation, so this reservation is no longer a part of your itinerary. Do you want to proceed with it with half travel, and you will make another travel by yourself, or do you want to cancel the entire itinerary?
Yeah.
um,
And this is not itinerary of the user. This is the itinerary of the flight. How will the flight hop from A to Z?
Itinerary
yeah,
belongs to customer.
itinerary of
Itinerary does not belong to user. Sorry,
Exactly.
flight. Itinerary
We,
belongs to customer.
for
we,
us actually this itinerary is like
Like
multiple hops,
no,
like
no,
from A to
Manish.
B, B to C.
Manish, I think you are just like confusing between like the multiple hops of a one flight doesn't matter to the user, right? Like the user is going from one destination to another, and if it is in same flight, then it doesn't have to change, or it doesn't have to have the multiple bookings, right? So
hmm.
for him, it is just one booking. He is going from
Right,
destination A to B, A to
right.
D, right?
Yeah.
In that case, like hop doesn't matter for the single flight. Hop matters when we are taking the multiple flights, like the uh,
Hmm.
So
deboarding
we are
from the flight and then
Separate
uh,
booking ID will be there in that case. Yeah.
So yeah,
why separate booking.
No, let's say if you, I mean, I want to go
No, no,
from,
one second, one second. Maybe I am confused or not, I don't know. Actually, maybe the person is going from A to D, right?
uh,
Okay, so he booked a flight. Now flight is saying like you have a journey from A to B for 2 hours, B to C for 2 hours, C to D for 2 hours. So are we
hmm,
saying this is a itinerary A to B, B to C, C to D,
yeah,
exactly. तो वो
right?
एक
yeah.
ही आईडी होगा ना, आईडी will be one only. वो तो flight
There is
admin will
one
decide.
ID
हाँ
that's
तो
representing
उसका
all this travel, and each of
हाँ
you'll have three reservations underneath it. Okay, so itinerary, you'll say customer, hey, 1 2 3 4 is your booking, but internally this 1 2 3 4, again, don't forget the aspect that all of these need not be with a single carrier. So you as a flight reservation system is working against multiple carriers. You need to be able to manage individual components of the travel as well. So having separate concerns between itinerary and reservation helps you, like 1 2 3 4 is my overall booking ID, which your customer tell you, and underneath this, from A to B, my booking ID, my reservation ID will be R1. With B to C, then my reservation will be R2. And
No,
from C to D, my reservation ID will be R3, something like that. And
but
if
why do we need to
no
show
no
R2,
no
this?
no no R1 R2
hmm,
I think all will be related to R1 only. For one
why-
reservation we will have multiple itinerary.
I mean, let's say R naught is the parent one. So for R, I mean, all these three belongs to R naught. But why do we need to show the user every, I mean, underneath R
you
Yeah,
naught?
need to,
R1
right?
R2
So
R3
even,
is not
yeah,
here.
book some international flight yourself, okay? And
Mm-hmm.
if there is multi-hop destination, you will see ID against each of them. You will have an itinerary ID, which will Expedia or whatever that gives you, and you'll have individual reservations underneath it. This
No,
hop will have this ID, this hop will have this ID.
even in domestic flights when there is a layover,
Hmm.
I guess US, I mean, I guess you have only one booking ID, right? That says it will go from
Yeah, this
Delhi to New
itinerary
Delhi.
ID is your booking ID, but
True.
internally,
Hmm.
but
these reservations will be for individual hops.
you have the
Sure.
different tickets, right? You whenever you are on boarding again, then you give this another ticket. You don't
Hmm.
use the same ticket, right? So
Okay, okay,
like
for
the
that sake.
yeah.
Cool.
Hmm.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, so let's see how many we have remaining.
You have payment and notification.
Cool. So you have payments and notification remaining. So notification is
And
associated.
most important part that, right? How will you like ensure the concurrency in case of reservation? That is the most important question asked everywhere. Like, how will you
Hmm.
ensure that the same seat shouldn't be assigned to two users?
Yeah. So an in-memory system, if I'm operating against an in-memory system, I would
Hmm.
probably use like Redis database, which operates single-threaded manner. So Redis cannot have conflicts if I'm using it. If I'm using a relational database, sorry.
No, but Redis distributed lock you are using?
No, Redis by default uses a single thread internally,
Okay.
which means it applies the operations on the time at which it receives it. So let's say two users are booking in parallel. First, let's say it received first users first, then it's going to update, and it's never going to show the second user the non-updated state or something. So one second.
No, so let's say some user booked it. So in the database, we'll go and make an entry, right? Like this
Hmm.
particular pending state, correct?
Mm.
Now Redis will have some sort of TTL, correct? He will talk to the payment system. Within 10
Mm.
minutes, if payment confirmation is not there, you will revert the seat into the Postgres table. I mean, database table, right? Booking table.
So if it's in relational databases, it's simple, dude. You'll lock the row,
Mhm.
and you can ensure that it's not duplicated. But in a system like Redis,
So you are
um,
saying without using relational, only Redis can help you in this?
no, even Elasticsearch can help you. So, but what you should do is you should read the records version, or during the update, yeah, you should do a read first, and then you should capture the revision number, and you should say if the new updated number is equal to revision number plus one, only then commit it. Otherwise, don't commit it.
But that's an optimistic locking, right?
Optimistic locking.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
not good.
All NoSQL databases only use optimistic, but optimistic logging is still a locking. It's not like it won't work. It
True, but
works.
where there are a lot of contention, we prefer pessimistic lock, right?
True, but in a flight of 100 users where
Hmm.
booking starts 90 days in advance, what is the chance of multiple users going against the same seat?
Let's assume it's Diwali or some sort of festival is there, right?
Hmm.
Correct.
Hmm.
So during that time, even like 10 days before or 5 days before, you can see
Hmm.
that multiple folks might be trying to book, right?
Okay, go for it.
So
But I only need one. So as an airline management system, I only care about one the seat getting booked. I don't care about who books the seat. So in the end, I'm locking against that particular seat itself, right? Only just the seat. Okay. So it's the seat that I'm locking. It's not the flight instance I'm locking. It's not anything I'm locking. So I'm parallelly allowing as many transactions as
hmm,
there are number of seats in the flights to be booked. Do I care which user books it? And
no,
once a booking is complete, do I care about failed transactions?
no. So for that period of time, we need to put a lock into the row also, right? In the seat ID corresponding to that seat ID, isn't it? In the table, in the seat ID.
So the seat ID is like, are you talking about NoSQL system or let's say SQL
No, why
systems?
we will talk about NoSQL in this case? Because we have to go for the asset compliance,
Fine.
right?
If you are using SQL system, so you'll have a lock against that particular seat,
Hmm.
and sure, and that seat is only granted to one of the bookings.
True. Yes. Yeah.
So means like on flight seat table, on one row, we will take a lock and book.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
So
But in
So
low level
with
but,
design,
only
but
okay
again,
with
one issue
only
is there.
this
One
okay
more
with
question is
only
there.
mm,
Just for a
with
minute.
only
Let's say two users are there, okay? And one user wants to book three seats, other user wants to book four seats, correct?
Mm, mm.
Now
mm,
there are only. Can you write that so that I mean I'm trying to create a deadlock kind of situation. So yeah, user one wants to book three seats, and user two wants to book four seats or three seats, whatever. Now, out of user one requiring four seats, only two seats he could get. Okay, and user two got one seat only. S2.
Mm.
Or S2 or S3. There are four seats, so user one got S2, S3, and user two got S4, S5.
Okay, it's an all or none operation. So you try to select all,
Hmm.
select for update. You would follow this pattern of select for update. Read about it. So when you select for update,
Hmm.
you you acquire a lock. You won't say skip locked. So you won't. Yeah, you say skip locked so that you fail fast. So
Isn't
skip
it a
lock.
deadlock kind of thing?
Deadlock can't happen. Why will deadlock happen?
Because there are
So
only four seats. Two
No,
seats are booked by user one, and two seats are booked by user two. And none of
that's
them.
what I'm saying. When you are
partial
booking
doesn't
four
happen.
seats, right?
Partial doesn't
Yeah,
happen.
Achha.
you will select all the four seats. If one of them is not able to select, right? So I
Hmm.
wanted four seats. I only got two seats. You will not let the transaction proceed.
Okay.
okay. You mean to say like if I get this four seat, then only I will get the lock. Otherwise, I will skip.
Yeah,
But
Yeah.
that's a loss to the airline, right?
someone else is booking. No, see, you wanted S2, S3, S4. I booked S2, S3, S4. S5 is what is not getting booked. So
Hmm.
in the end, you can't guarantee like 100% for every case, no, because they wanted adjacent seats. Will they be happy if you book S2, S3, S4 for someone else and say you adjust behind me? They won't accept it, no, and you are paying for that particular seat.
Okay, either you
When you're
book or
choosing a particular seat, you are booking for it. Yeah, think of a practical scenario. When you're choosing a seat, you're
Mhm.
paying for that seat. Otherwise, you should take whatever the airline grants you. At which point it's a background process. It doesn't matter about the contention case.
I thought that none of the
When
process
it's
will succeed in this case because both of them are waiting for other two to.
no, one acquires a lock, the other looks
Mm.
at that lock, it skips it, and it fails whatever that has already locks.
It can't go
In
into.
this case, like if the first user is like about to book the 4 seats, then second user will like be rejected or something like this.
Yeah,
You
So
are
one
not
user will always go through.
Mm.
I think like for the locking system, like can't we have a status something like the seat locked or like the seat um, captured or whatever? Like I am not able to give you the correct terminology, but the thing that we use in the movie booking, theater booking, right?
Yeah,
Like
Mhm.
yeah.
we lock it for some time and then release that for like so. In that
Exactly.
time,
Yeah, it
yeah,
it
something similar.
same
I think we
same
can
will be
apply.
followed here also, I think.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That is why I've thought like put a lock on the row in the table and then take that entry, put it into the Redis and give a TTL of 10 minutes. And
Mm.
within that 10 minutes, if you get a response successful from the payment, then it will release a callback. Redis will
Mm.
give a callback, right? That
Mm.
it's successful. Or it could be the scenario that it's not successful. Then in that case, we can revert the seat.
One point, like strictly speaking from a low level design perspective,
Hmm.
I guess interview may we have to write the logs and all, right? Use the Java logs and all,
Synchronized and all, yeah.
yeah, everything.
You
So
have to. Yeah.
That has to be very clear. But they ask this question a lot, and they
yeah,
create this
yeah, yeah.
the second one, what I mentioned, like two seats, two
Mm,
seats. Okay.
mm.
Why do we need lock and all if we are using like databases row level locking?
No, but in LLD, you won't be using databases, right?
Assume you are using everything in memory is what they mention. So at which point you have to um, create the objects in memory. The database is also in memory, like a hash map of the booking ID, like sorry, a list of booking IDs, and you have to represent the entire thing in memory and still be able to acquire lock on that.
Mm. Uh,
Non-practical, non-realistic, but still you should be able to answer by using synchronized block, double checked. Uh, no, you don't
okay.
need double check. Yeah.
Okay. Now in this system, how do we like manage like all the like seating layout and everything
Yeah. So layout is a representation. So you'll have flight
of flight
seats. Maybe
seats?
you'll,
Yeah,
yeah,
because
you'll
flight
probably make.
seats will be having like many rows are there. Okay,
Mm,
if we talk
mm,
about like one flight will be having 200 seats. Okay.
mm, mm,
Okay, and for one from one airport, we are considering like any number of like flights will be there. So in that
mm.
particular table, we will be having like any number of rows will be there
Doesn't,
in
yeah, it
particular.
doesn't matter. You can filter out the particular flight instance that you are looking for. That
Hmm.
will represent all of the flight seats that belong to that flight instance. Okay.
Okay.
So yeah, I selected
So,
all the seats. Now it's all about displaying to the user, right? So you get A1, A2, A3.
yeah,
You'll
yeah.
follow some sort of ordering to show it to the user.
So my point here is like, should do we need to every time query this table filter from this table, and then we need to show on this like flight booking layout every
You
time?
should. Yep. Or
Every
maintain a
time we
cache
need to
of it
query
somewhere.
here on this table, or should we keep
Query once and cache somewhere. It's not a HLD discussion. No, if you're really doing HLD, query
mm,
once the flight seats and cache it in your in your cache. If it's present in cache, it will not query this table again. If it's not present in cache, then it will fall back to this table.
mm, okay.
But you should also have write back cache, because as the booking is getting updated, you should be showing the booking status, which means you have to write to two entries, both the flight seat entry as well as the cache entry. Cool.
Yes,
I think.
in second time we can extend same like LLD to HLD also, like so that
Mm,
things can be related and we can evolve
mm,
more.
could be. Yeah. Practically not seen LLD being clubbed with HLD. Like these diagrams and all, you don't need to draw, but you rather have to
Not
open a
need to
software,
draw,
right?
but major features we can cover, and so that we can
Hmm.
able to relate with the table level and high level. How do we need to actually
Yeah,
manage the things?
yeah.
Yeah, sometimes they say LLD, they start with LLD and switch to, I mean, you will not know when they have switched to
Yeah, if
HLD.
if
Yeah,
they
yeah,
will
I
ask any
agree.
question of HLD, so you can't deny, na?
Yeah, exactly.
Mm.
So it can be anything in India. Yeah,
Yeah, in anything.
Sometimes they ask how do you make this design more scalable and distributed, first from the
exactly.
coding perspective, then from the high level perspective.
At
No,
times they will
in
ask
many
you to
companies it is
just
a mix of LLD, HLD.
correct. At times they might ask you to just draw the tables only. I mean, DB tables and
So
then.
that is why only I asked this question, like how do we actually manage?
Hmm.
Mm. We can extend this design to HLD next time if whenever
Hmm.
to if guys are interested.
Sure, why not? Let's do it sometime.
Can you please help me understand why do we leave this passenger ID in flight seat object? We have
Hmm.
it inside reservation, right?
Schedule ID,
This
where
passenger ID property,
passenger ID.
flight seat object.
Hmm.
Do we need this because we already have it within a reservation, right?
Yeah, so someone asked a question that said, given a flight ID, as an admin, I would like to look at all of the passengers that booked on this flight.
So for that, we
So
can figure out first all of them who have
yeah, we
reserved
could
for
do
that
a
flight.
reserve. We could do a join of reservation table with the flight seat table to get the passenger name if we already have it um, in the reservation table. Yeah, duplication is usually not good. So unless so, it's always a trade-off between performance and write performance and read performance.
Yes, correct.
Cool.
Yeah,
So payments and notification is what is remaining.
right.
How's the Josh?
Josh is at next level, right?
Let's do it then.
Yeah, sure, definitely.
Cool. So we need to associate payments to something. It's a reservation or itinerary. In my mind, everything is a itinerary and subpart is a reservation. So I want to keep payment, get payment or make payment as part of itinerary, and
But
because
Oh,
we use
why payment would be the part of itinerary? Payment should be the
exactly.
part of reservation, right? The itinerary is just a schedule for me. Like for
yeah,
me as a
again, you are
user,
going to the same concept. See,
uh,
reservation is your internal representation to the customer. You are always giving them a overall picture of this is your travel. Okay, if there is just one reservation underneath, fine. It's still an itinerary. Your starting airport and destination airport is only one. But if it's multi-hop, then this is your starting. You'll have some more inside this. These are your subparts of reservation, and this is your destination. So
But
but the
let's have
payment
it.
would
keeping
remain
make
same,
payment
right?
here, actually
Sorry.
keeping make payment here in itinerary, you are showing that like for one reservation I need to make a multiple payment
Which is not
No,
correct.
for
as per
for
number
one
of hops.
itinerary, you make one payment.
No, that is wrong. I will do a payment for my reservation from A to D.
That's what itinerary
For
is.
itinerary, for each itinerary, I will not pay different payment.
Reservation, see, again, you see these numbers here. What does this
Mm.
mean? The star here means multiple reservations are mapped to one itinerary, and itinerary will contain list of reservations.
Oh,
True,
it's
but you
ulta.
won't be paying for every hop, right? A customer won't
Oh,
pay for
Yeah, I
every.
won't be paying for multi any hop. So itinerary is representing all the picture of one. So to the customer, the notifications, the email that you're sending is all about the itinerary. Customer
So,
only cares about the itinerary.
it's
so
a
if you,
reverse thing, right? Then the
Mhm.
reservation
Sorry?
will act like a hop for me then.
Yeah, reservation is the hub. That's what I've been saying. See,
Okay.
earlier we tried to map reservation as a list of seat maps, list of flight instances. It became unnecessarily complicated, like even too hard to get extended. Then what we said, maybe we are not doing the right thing. What if there is one more structure on top of this which is able to represent multiple reservations in one go? Then that becomes itinerary. So we made in reality also, customer will be given an itinerary by a booking operator, and that booking will can contain multiple hops, multiple reservations and all. So that makes it a simpler way. So how do you scale this design is what they ask, right? When they mean scaling low level thing, it's all about extending low level thing. So if I keep this structure complicated, like imagine how was flight seat earlier. I was having a list of flight seats, and to get like what flight has what flight seat, I did have to do some computation within that seat get seat map method, like do iterate on the flight seat, look at the flight, then get the thing. So why unnecessarily complicated when there is an over, then there can be a overall data structure or a class that can be laid on top of this, that can make the underlying representation simpler, right?
So to the
Cool.
user, you will show that for A to B
Hmm.
the cost is this, B to C the cost is this,
No,
and C.
I won't show anything of this. So I will only show make payment. They'll only see one payment. Payment is never associated with reservation. If payment is associated with reservation, then I should be showing multiple because it's composed of multiple reservations. But there is only one. I won't be showing to the user what is the total, what is the sub part of it.
So basically, it is the responsibility of the admin to divide the cost between the hops, right? Let's say I paid 10,000 rupees, right? And
Hmm.
3,000
Hmm.
for
Mm.
each of the A to B, B
Yeah.
to C, B to B.
Yeah. So you'll have somewhere like in the flight instance, yeah, here you should have some fare concept. Either here, so whatever is the route part that's
Mhm.
telling you the fare. So I think flight seat can tell the fare. Like how can you go to any bottom than this? Like
Huh?
flight seat, you are doing a lock on the flight seat, right? So this
Okay.
is the most core structure you could go to that can uniquely identify the fare or the cost, correct? So if I want to show the cost to the user, you choose the seats, and remember, seats will also come with their own cost. Like if you want a window side seat, this is the cost. If you want some other seat, this is the cost, right?
True, that's a
So
different thing. But for one
yeah,
journey from A to D, there will be only one cost, right? Total journey
there will
cost.
be one overall cost, but
Okay.
that cost would be calculated based on the seat you choose. Like I'll do a summation on all of the fares, and I'll show you the total cost, which is what you'll pay.
But this make payment method will be used by end user actually.
Correct. Yeah, make
So
payment.
that
End user
should
will
be
come here.
related to directly to reservation only.
Yeah, exactly.
So
That is what
again, I
I'm saying.
said I'm not exposing the underlying reservation to the user. I'm only exposing list of reservations and one itinerary to the user.
Okay, so you are saying if A to D, then three reservations and three payment, whatever, like
No, I'm
ROs.
not saying three payments. See, I have one make payment. Inside this one make payment, when so I should tell the user this is your overall cost, right? The workflow would look like user opens a site, chooses
Hmm.
a three hop destination, and three hop destination. I know that there will be three reservations underneath it, and I'll walk through the user. This is your first flight. Choose your seat. This is your second flight. Choose your seat. This is your third flight. Choose your seat. For each of those flights, there will be each reservation, and each reservation is associated with the flight seat. Flight seat is composed of a fare. So if you have three seats, if you
Hmm.
book three flights, three seats, I'll make a summation of all of this, and in the end, I'll show make payment would be certain sum, but I won't be revealing what is the sub part of it because
No, no.
while choosing the fare, yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
one point I want to raise here actually.
Hmm.
If there is a multiple hop in a journey, so do we get like a chance to select the seat every time in every journey, like
Yes,
in
yes.
You
every
do.
hop?
Yes.
Hmm,
Yes, you
you
do.
can do that. Like for every flight, you can choose which seat, which window, or whatever.
Or
Yeah.
first, whatever first we select based on that, all will be default.
No, of course, each
Need
flight is a
to.
different seat. No,
Uh,
so in one flight you would want a window seat. Probably the other one is at night. You wanna just sleep. You don't care where it is.
right.
So you should be providing user with all those features.
And it can be different sizes flight, right? One could be a normal, other
Yeah,
could
yeah.
be Airbus. Then you can sit at the top on
Seat layout
whatever.
will be completely different for the different
Exactly.
flights. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Company
Any
are
more
providing
questions on
fancy.
this make payment itinerary?
When we search for a flight, then on the
Hmm.
search page it shows only the base price, right? And then we
It
are going
shows the base price. Yeah.
right.
Hmm. Correct.
Hmm.
So where are we getting that base price?
Base price. That's a good point. So I was thinking. you would ask all of the users to choose their fare, which you could categorize like premium seats and regular seats. Regular seats all will have the same fare. If you choose a premium thing, then by pre-computing the fare against that premium seat, you get whatever that is.
No, but
So
you'll
it's
have.
all
Mhm. Go ahead.
it's all under this get fare itself. Each site, each seat, each mapped seat, each chosen seat will have its own fare.
So that means A to D, if I have to do three times, get fare will be called for respective three flights.
Yes.
Acha.
It's because you are going through a workflow, no? So I can't show you like three flights side by side in one UI and ask you to choose probably. So I'll show you three flights. This is flight one, choose your
Mm.
seat. Flight two, choose your seat. Flight three, choose your seat. And each time seat is chosen, I'll
Mhm.
calculate the list of fares. I keep adding them to the itinerary, which will have three reservations. And when I have to show the fare, I'll do is I have the reservation list. Reservation has the seat ID. Seat has the, imagine these are all objects only. Seat has the fare. I'll do a summation of the fare and show the payment to you. Payment fare.
Mhm. Okay. Yeah, there could be
Cool.
discount in other flight, right?
Hmm.
Mm.
So yeah, so we also talked about the payment part. What else should happen? I think
Notification. Notification.
notification should happen after the fare. So
Now,
let's talk
in
about
case of make payment, should be an interface. Okay. Because we can have
uh,
strategy of the payment. If regular, not, I mean, yeah, there can be some regular customers also, right, for the flight.
hmm,
So for them, you can put some discount, or if it's
hmm, hmm,
based on different situations, right? So we can make an
hmm.
interface called make payment,
So
and
make payment will have something called payment processor.
exactly, huh?
Payment processor dot process. So this itinerary is composed of a payment processor composition, and you'll say payment processor dot make payment, which takes all the things underneath it, like the discount code, the customer profile, whatever. So you'll delegate that to here, and you won't keep a lot of logic here. You should not keep a lot of logic here. Cool.
Yeah.
And last part is about
Notification.
the
Notification.
notifications. So because we said notification customer is only talking to itinerary, we will have notification tied to itinerary. If any one of the reservation changes, itinerary should know about it because it's composed of it. So yeah, and then you would send again in notifications. You will have like different types of notifications. So notification could be an interface, right?
Mhm.
And what will have a notification to uniquely identify notification,
Oh,
we'll have a
shouldn't we
notification.
use observer pattern over there?
Yeah, that's right. So we should have an observer pattern that whenever reservation is changing, itinerary should listen to. Sorry, I think we are only changing in itinerary anyway. No, we are not allowing user to modify the reservation directly. User goes through itinerary to update this. Like for example, he thought this hop is unnecessary and he wants to take another hop from E to F, for example, right?
Mhm.
Sorry, B to D directly. Then that changes, and when that changes, we should use an observer pattern. In real life, this would be some sort of CDC. Um, but in here we could use observer pattern like notify. Whenever this changes, you'll have some method called notify, and
Interface
this
will have
notify,
notify
yeah,
user.
this notify will invoke this notification. So
It will have three mechanisms. I mean, SMS or
hmm,
email. So first we
hmm.
will have to collect all those observers to whom we need to notify, right?
I think we also need a strategy. So let's keep this notification sender. Okay. So
Mm-hmm.
this notification sender will have a notify user, which is you'll have an event,
Mm-hmm.
and event details will be present. So you'll also have like user preference fetcher. So you'll have a fetcher, and this will fetch like what all modes do you want to be notified,
True.
and so that will tell you list of modes to process. So list of modes or communication mechanisms. So you will have like for each in here for mode and mode. And you'll have like three modules associated with this. For example, like call notify is one,
SMS.
email note, SMS notify, this notify. So for mode in mode, you'll have something like a factory maybe that gives you, like, for this mode, get me the object that deals with that. It fetches that fact from the factory, and it calls that. So yeah, pretty much this. Cool. Any more questions?
No, I think this makes sense. Anyone else? The coding is still left. This is like, yeah.
Mm,
I have a question. Surya, you said in a real life we will have a
mm,
CTC. So we will
mm,
have a CTC on the cable or something else.
mm.
Your voice is cutting. Feeble, very feeble.
Yeah, you'll have CDC on the table. If it's relational databases, you'll have triggers. So triggers are like events that generate out of change. On commit, then no, invoke this procedure. This procedure could write to some table, or it could send out events. Oracle does support like triggering something, but Dynamo has multiple modes. Dynamo, you could so on Dynamo CDC, you could generate a stream, and you could create an action on that stream. The stream could get sent to an S3 by firehose batching. The stream could invoke an SNS function, and that SNS function would trigger a lambda, where lambda would do some processing, or this SNS could directly send out an email notification to the user. So different databases use different sorts of CDC. So depends on the technology.
Or we can push this event to some queue, and from their notification service will consume
Sure.
and
Yeah, exactly. So you could push to queue, and you'll have a processor, event processor, that could run this logic of sending notifications.
Yeah, got it. Got it.
Hmm. Cool. Then sounds good.
Alrighty.
Right.
We'll
You
close.
can share this link. Or
Yeah, sure.
I have a question. Sorry, like,
Mhm.
could you elaborate on the notification part? Like, I didn't really, for the
Mhm.
flow, I didn't understand.
Yeah. So let me share my screen and talk about it. Which part did you not understand? The LLD part or the
In
reality part?
general, like, how it is working for
Yeah.
them.
So itinerary. So the in real world it works like this. So you, let's imagine you have a data store here. Let's call
Mm.
this itinerary store. So, and there is an if else case. Let's say this itinerary store is a relational database. Okay.
Mm.
So you want to get updated about updates, inserts, and deletes, right? So you'll write a function, a database function. These are usually called PLSQL functions. And in this function, you would write what is the logic. Let's say call this insert function. So insert function is like new booking creation, right? So new booking, assign a booking ID to this, or whatever that is. Then trigger some. So this, let's say this is a relational system, right? So write to notifications table. So write to notifications table, and after writing to notifications table, you'll have a poller that's looking into the notifications table every 5 minutes and doing some job. Or if you are using something else, yeah, and you will create what is it called, triggers, I said, right? So triggers would look like trigger.
Sorry to interrupt. Like, I don't really understand, like, in deeper polar and everything. So I'm just asking in general.
Hmm.
How it's working.
no, no, go ahead,
Okay.
complete it. Yeah, I think.
Okay, let me export to link and share it.
No, no, you click. Yeah. Mhm. Copy this link. Actually, I thought this, but that was another link that I.
Mhm. You should be able to access this. Cool. Yeah. That's pretty much it. So on commit, some action has to happen, and you define what is the action, and that action sender is responsible to run this logic. and send notifications to multiple streams depending on the user preferences.
Okay, so basically it's mapping it to the table and then it's sending the notification to the particular user.
Yeah, not always stable. It doesn't need to be always stable. If it's depends on the technology I said, right? If it's DynamoDB, it's not a table. Table always exists. It's a stream. Now stream is like a Kafka. It's a modification of, it's like a Kafka stream, and there will be a consumer on the stream. Or the stream can also be configured to trigger an SNS or trigger Lambda or trigger something else. So it all depends on the technology that you're using.
Okay, so for like there are different kind of users. There are premium users, there are regular users. So
Hmm.
for each of them, the kind of features may differ.
Hmm.
So for them, mm,
Hmm.
like it's mapping according to like how it's working. Like, is it in kind
Yeah,
of
so trigger a lambda when the stream happens.
yeah.
So you could use two patterns. If you want high efficiency, then use a consumer that reads multiple messages in the stream at once and
Mhm.
invokes this notification sender lambda. Notification sender lambda will have a user preference fetcher, which will also probably contain your premium user whatnot. So, and you'll have application specific logic. If it's premium user, then do this. If it's something else, then do this. So that's one way if you want efficiency. If you don't care about efficiency and you want like an eventing mechanism, if you are a low throughput system, ask this stream to trigger a lambda, and that lambda will again run the same logic. Notification sender will fetch the user preferences and be composed of these things like SMS notifier, mobile caller, email notifier. Each will be separate blocks of their own that trigger multiple channels.
Okay, like there's one more thing. Like it's a kind of approach that I have in mind. Like when there is any event or notification kind of thing, one thing that came in my mind is like pub something like a notification, and for each
Hmm.
topic. So is that all? That also can
This is all
be
PubSub only. Yeah, this is publishing part. Trigger on insert is publishing. This lambda and all is subscribe. Consumer is also a subscribe.
okay. Okay.
Queues can also work, like Shashank mentioned. So Oracle uses AQs, advanced queues, by the way. So Oracle AQ, that was what I was missing. So Oracle AQ inserts an event into this, and you'll have an AQ consumer which can read. And so instead of notification sender being a lambda or a consumer, you'll have an AQ consumer.
Hmm.
Similarly, Postgres can do. It all depends on how you configure. So I've never worked with triggers on Postgres. I did on Oracle, so I know it has AQ. But Postgres may have similar mechanisms as well.
I have one more question for in low level thing. So
Hmm.
when we are calling the notify user and we are passing the event, right? So in that event, do we have the user details also? Which user to send the notification and all?
Yeah, so your event should contain all the details.
Metadata. Okay.
So event should at least not all the details. Sorry about that. You usually keep you event smaller
Uh-huh.
for efficiency, and
Mm-hmm.
whatever you want, like extra information that you would want, maybe you'll just pass the user ID in the event, and this user preference fetcher, let's call it user fetcher. So it takes the user ID and gets the user preferences, user emails, user mobile numbers, whatnot.
Got it. All right.
Cool.
All right.
Yeah.
I think we need to close.
Yeah. Thanks, Surya.
Thank you. Thanks to you.
That's a wonderful discussion. Yeah. Hope for more new problems. Right.
Sure. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Sure. Thank you.